Right, guys, I gotta let you guys know that today was the fastest I got this podcast up and running. Yo, because usually I'm either late to the room or like something happens and then I end up taking like 10, 15 minutes in order to set everything up. I have to set up the camera, I have to set up the mic, I have to set up this, that, the wires. The mic sometimes is not properly adjusted, so I have to be adjusting it here, moving the arms of the mic here and there, and it's just annoying. There's like so many things going on. I'm like, come on, man, like, I just want to get this podcast going. I just want to get the episode started, and I have all these things happening, and it's just crazy, right? But today, I feel like almost everything kind of came out perfect. Everything was kind of ready. Everything was set. Everything worked out. The mic, it looks like a if you guys have watched the previous episode, you guys know that I was here not too long ago. I was here like maybe like 2, 3 days ago. I was here. Yeah, so it seems that nobody used any of the mics here, or at least the mic that I'm using right now, because it seems like it's in the same position and everything as I left the last time, and everything's kind of the same way. So I think nobody used the podcast room, and if somebody did, they probably didn't use this mic, or they just happened to use the same setup that I did. So they didn't move anything around. So I really appreciate that. But yeah, so we're back here. It's Saturday. Today is the final. Today is the World Series final between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. So I'll be watching that later. Go Dodgers, of course. Let's go. But yeah, I want to welcome you guys to yet another episode of the Foodie Filmmaker Podcast. So let's go. All right, so as you guys might have seen from the camera there, today's episode is sponsored by McDonald's. I didn't have a chance to grab any coffee today, so I had to get myself one from McDonald's. Because McDonald's coffee is actually pretty decent. I mean, I don't know if you guys have tried McDonald's coffee, but it's actually pretty good. I feel like it's changed its flavor over the years, but it's kept pretty it's been a pretty consistent good flavor overall. Like, the changes have been minuscule, and I think they've been for the best. I usually just drink this black. Sometimes when I do feel like having some sugar, I do add sugar and cream. In case you guys are wondering what kind of a coffee drinker I am, I drink a wide variation of coffee, Besides, I've been a barista as my first job, which I had to forcefully taste every single drink because, I had to know what I was giving to the customers. Plus, if I had to do any customer service or people came in and they were like, hey, what kind of coffee should I have? First timers, or sometimes, that everybody has like their own preferred local coffee spot, and then they come to that one, and then they're trying to have like a similar drink that they have back at their local coffee shop. And so then I have to, I have them describe to me like what kind of drink do they drink, like what does it taste like, and then I kind of, based on that, I'm able to craft a drink that's similar to the one that they have back at home or their local coffee shop or whatever, right? So besides that, eventually when I kind of finished doing that job, I pretty much was accustomed to drinking any kind of coffee drink. So I'll drink anything. Sure, there are times where I prefer to have some over others. Like right now, I really am not in the mood to have any sugar, so that's why I just got my coffee black, because that's what I want to have right now. I just want to have like a straight up black coffee. But sometimes I do feel like having sugar. Sometimes I don't feel like having the black coffee because it's like it's too bitter, or it's just gonna hit me too hard. I want something that's smooth, something that's gonna make me feel good. Something that's gonna be easy for me to consume, and it's not like strong and everything. So there are those times when I have those, but for this instance, I'm having the dark one because I want that punchiness before I begin today's episode. But yeah, so that's that. I'm pretty sure PD Pete's is not very happy with that. I think he has something against McDonald's. So but this is not the food, there's just the coffee. Maybe he still has something against the coffee. I think he has something against the entirety of McDonald's. And I understand, it's not really, McDonald's, is like the villain of the fast food, and so, it's not really the best thing out there, but I like McDonald's. I have it once in a while, and I'm not having it like every week or something, but, it's really good. I like their coffee. I like some of their food as well. But yeah, anyway, moving on from McDonald's, we're back with yet another episode That's right. 2 episodes in 1 week. Let's see how we do. I'm gonna answer those later, but right now, let me look at my list here. I did have like a little bit of a, just like the previous episode where I had a list of topics that I wanted to talk about. I have one for this one as well. It's funny because in the previous one I had a list as well, and then like I wrote something, and then I'm like looking at the list, and I'm like, what does that even mean? Like when I wrote it, like way back, like maybe like 2 months ago when I wrote that topic, I only wrote like a little brief description of what the topic was. And now that I was looking at it during the episode, I was like, what the hell is that? Like I didn't know what that was. I knew what the other two were. So I only basically spoke about the other two. I still don't know what that one is. I would need to kind of sit down and really think about what I was trying to say there. But it was just a little bit confusing, but it was kind of funny because it was like something that just happened on the spot, but at the same time, it was something that I wrote, So I'm like, I don't even understand what I'm writing to myself anymore. So I thought that was kind of funny, but yeah. Plus, I don't know if you guys noticed, but in the previous episode, there was a lot of things going on. First of all, I was really tired. I was almost falling asleep by the end of it. Second of all, I had not eaten anything. Today, I did eat something. I just ate actually, but in the previous episode, I didn't eat nothing. Like I had a piece of bread, but that was like a few hours ago. So it was already time for me to eat, and I hadn't eaten thus far. So I finished the episode. By the end of it, you can kind of tell I was already dying. Like I was really, really, really hungry. I came out of here and I forgot what I ended up eating, but I had to eat something. Like I ate like really quickly. I was like, yo, I'm dying. Oh yeah, I remember. I had a Jimmy John's. Yeah, there's a Jimmy John's like 2 blocks away from here. And so I just went to Jimmy John's straight, had my sub, and I was like, oh my goodness, I was like dying. I was like, holy crap, like, oh my goodness, like, probably never do that again. I got to make sure that I eat before I start these things because believe it or not, being any podcast, especially doing it by yourself, it does take a toll. It takes a lot of energy in order for you to sit here and talk to the camera for like, even though that episode wasn't too long, like I was editing it last night, and it wasn't too bad. It was like, I believe it was like 40 minutes. It's not even like one of my longest ones, but it was 40 minutes and it was still quite a lot. Plus I was really sleepy. I was like, I didn't sleep well like that night. Plus I did stay up pretty late. I was filming at a night market as well. And so I was just like dead. Like I came in here, I was like dead. Plus I had filmed another video before I even started the podcast. I let you guys know in that episode that I was filming a video of Kevin Nectar for Kevin Hanna, and so I had already spent a good amount of time filming that video. It took me maybe 30 minutes because I had to do a few takes and everything, and I had to perform certain things. Like I was actually making the drink here in the studio before I even started it, and then I took a sip out of it. And plus there is some effects when you drink the Kevin Nectar, which I thought were gonna actually help me increase my I guess communication with you guys. Was going to help me kind of unfold my ideas in my head a little better. I would say that's kind of what I was expecting, but from what I can take from that experience, I will say that yes, it does put you in that mood where you start to relax, you start to feel a little bit more like a little loose, right? And when it comes to the talking itself, I feel like it removes a lot of the filtering that goes on in your head, when as opposed to when you're just like out and about, you haven't consumed anything that can affect your communication. You're basically kind of going around, you're filtering, right? Depending on who you're talking to, you're kind of like trying to say the right things everywhere. You talk to this person, you talk to that person. Maybe you're talking in a more professional setting. You try to talk more professional. You're talking to your friends. Maybe that's when you actually kind of get loose. But then maybe you're talking to someone a little bit more like above you or something, like a teacher or a boss or something. So you try to keep it a little bit more like in line and stuff, more professional, more clean and stuff. And then you're talking to like other people, like maybe you don't know these people. So then it's like, it's a little bit more reserved because you don't want to give away too much because you don't really know these people that well. So you don't know like what that relationship could turn out to be, that acquaintance. So then like, there's different variations when it comes to communication, right? Depending on who you're talking to. But what I see with the Kevin Nectar, what it does is that it kind of removes all those filters, and it kind of just solidifies everything into one. And it basically allows you to talk to how you would talk to your friends just basically talk to everybody like that and just be very open, be very expressive, be very just yourself, let everybody know who you are without any filters, without really having to hold back and everything, which I guess in a sense it is pretty good when it comes to actually talking to people and like, socializing and getting to know people and bonding and connecting with others, because, the more you're able to express yourself, the more you're able to let the other person know about yourself, the more the other person is going to feel a little bit more comfortable to open up as well. And then there's going to be that nice, good exchange between the two of you, where the two of you are kind of, sharing personal things and vulnerable things that like you wouldn't normally share with other people, and that can create a very strong bond between the two. But yeah, so I could definitely see that working out. But I used it to do it here in the podcast when I'm just talking to a camera. I'm not talking to anybody. I mean, like, you, the viewer, you may feel like I'm talking to you, and that's exactly the message that I want to send out, obviously, when I'm filming these things. But the thing is, the reality is, right now I am in the room by myself. I am talking to my DJI Osmo here, and there is nobody with me in the room. So then it's just me by myself coming up with these ideas and talking to the camera, right? And so for the most part, also, just to add on to this, this is a podcast like where I always want you guys to take away something. So I always want you to walk away with something by the time that you're done with the episode. So I want you to have a lot of takeaways. So in order to do that, I have to think very logically and strategically in order for me to, whatever the topics are going to be, I'm able to deliver them in a way where, you guys can learn something and then possibly apply it into your foodie journey or whatever it is that you're doing with your life. You're able to apply it over there. And so in order to do that, I got to think that way. And the connector was actually kind of preventing me from going into those deep thinking realms, because like, it was kind of like, hey man, you don't got to really think that much, just kind of let things flow, just kind of let it out, just kind of let the ideas flow and stuff. And that's not that's not how I'm really used to thinking, really. Having more like a logical structure going on in my head, where it's like, like one thing leads to another logically, and so there's a very logical structure as far as that goes. But then like this kind of broke it, and so now it's like all the ideas are all over the place. And so sure, like if you're talking to a person, it may be okay, to be jumping from one topic to the other, but if I'm trying to make this an episode where, I want takeaways, I want you guys to understand the topics that I'm talking about at a core level, I have to do a lot of explaining, and sometimes, and with the connector, I feel like it was preventing me from going there. So it was a little bit of a struggle. I was kind of sorting it out as the episode was going on, and it was just like, whoa, like I don't think I'm gonna take it before an episode ever again. Like maybe I'll take it, before I'm about to go out, hang out with a friend or something, hang out with friends. Or, whatever, I'm going to go out on a date or something. Or I'm going to meet up with, I'm going to a place where it's going to be good for me to just open up and be social and stuff like that. In that kind of setting, I can see myself actually drinking some Kevin Nectar, which I still have at home, which I will be making for myself whenever those occasions arise. But for the time being, I don't think I'm going to be using it here in the episode, in the podcast. But yeah, anyway, guys, let's go ahead and get into today's episode. That was enough of an intro there. Let me get, just like the previous episode, let me go ahead and let you guys know what we're going to be talking about. That way, you guys know what to expect from today's episode. And if you guys want to tune out because, you guys are not interested in these topics, or possibly you're already an expert in these topics and you know a lot about it, so you don't need to have more information about it, in that case, maybe I can have you here as a guest. You can sit on the other side of the table here and we can share some ideas. That'll be really fun. Make sure you hit me up, DM me, send me an email, or fill out the form below, and let me know that you want to be part of the podcast here. You want to be a guest, and we can make that happen. But yeah. So today's topics are going to be, first of all, we're going to be talking about influencers charging for collabs, and also when it comes to the social media managers, to fellow social media managers, that are also influencers, like the whole charging aspect, because there's a little bit of a thing that I want to talk about there that I personally don't agree with the way that they do things, but that's totally up to them. But we'll be talking about, like, should they be charging, should they not? If you're an influencer, should you be charging, should you be not? And how you should go about charging fellow social media managers, if you guys are in the same space. So how do you go about that, right? And then I also want to talk about, like, how it's important to allow creativity to exist. So creativity is highly important in this kind of industry here, as a foodie, as a content creator. Whether maybe you're not creating content for food, maybe you're doing lifestyle, maybe you're doing something else, right? But creativity is so important, and not only for you to have it, but also for whoever you decide to work with, whoever you decide to collaborate with. They need to be on the same page and allow creativity to exist. And the thing is this, like, if that doesn't happen, then a lot of things can go wrong. And so I'm going to be talking about that, and how you should position yourself, or put yourself in a position where, you allow creativity to exist, and the people around you also allow that creativity to exist. And I'm going to explain the benefit of why you should do that. And the third topic we're going to be talking about is how to deal with disrespect, because there is a lot of disrespect going on in this industry, especially the foodie industry. Disrespect can come from your fellow foodies. It could come from business owners. It could come from social media managers. It can come from higher ups. It can come from people that you work with. There's disrespect that comes from everything, even in the comments. You get disrespect from just normal people who go in there and start criticizing your stuff and leave bad comments and everything and disrespect you in some way, shape, or form. So there's a lot of disrespect going on, and the thing is that you gotta have to learn how to deal with it, because if you don't deal with it the right way, then it could lead to either you becoming a creator that's obviously going to strike back, and then you don't want to be someone that's like that, that's always striking back and trying to outbeat the other people, and like, oh, they disrespect me, I have to disrespect them back. You never want to have that approach, but you also don't want to have the approach where it just affects you way too much, to the point where the disrespect leads you to pretty much just quit and stop doing what you're doing. Because who knows, you may be a really creative person, you may have a really strong gift, a really beloved talent in content creation, but if you let the haters and you let all this disrespect kind of get to you, then it can stop you from advancing and moving forward. So I don't want that, because, like, I've seen, like, a lot of creators along the way that were really good. They were very talented, and because they had a fallout with a certain person, or a certain company, or with somebody, that kind of led to them to be like, what, I don't want to do this anymore and everything. And to this day, they don't create content anymore, and they're doing something else, and they don't look as happy over there. And, like, I'm like, yo, like, if you would have just learned how to deal with the disrespect, you could have probably still have been around, and so that's why I want to talk about it, how to deal with it. That way it doesn't stop you from moving forward. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first topic, right? Charging. So first of all, let me just talk about just as an influencer, like, should you be charging? Should you not? Should you charge every business that you come across, or should you not, right? Now, here's the thing. Like, I've seen a lot of creators charging for the sake of just charging, because, their fellow creators are charging. Like, maybe you're a creator and your friends are over there charging. They charge every single place that they go to, and if they're not getting paid, then they just won't go into the collab, right? But sometimes you don't understand why they're charging. And the thing is that there must be a strong reason for you to be charging. And now I understand there's a lot of businesses out there who will pay, and they won't really question or ask why you're charging in the first place, because they just expect every single creator to charge, or they feel like just because the creator is coming in and doing something that they can do, that all of a sudden that creator deserves to be paid, just because they're doing something that obviously, like, maybe you as a business owner, you are not talented or you're not skilled enough to go and do yourself. Perhaps if you put into practice, you could, but maybe you don't have the time for it, or you're just not interested in creating content. But you understand that content and social media is important for your business, so you want to at least get something like that going. And so, right, you reach out to content creators, right? You see people creating content, and you want to bring them in. You want them to create content for your place and post it on their social media accounts, and possibly, repost it on yours as well, so that, you're able to kind of build some content for yourself as well, build some content for your page. And so you start reaching out, right? But sometimes you're not aware that, there's levels to this, and that some creators do in fact deserve to be paid and some they don't. And yes, there might be creators watching this and they might be like, hey, like, I deserve to be paid. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know what creators you're talking about that don't deserve to be paid, but I believe like every creator deserves to be paid, or at least every creator should be charging something, right? They should be out there getting their money and stuff. Like, get your money, right? But I completely disagree that every single creator needs to get paid, because there is levels. There's levels to this, and I believe like every single creator needs to bring something to the table if they're gonna be asking for payment. And it can't just be something like, oh, like, like there's an expense on my end, because that's one of the things that I see a lot. Like, I reach out to a lot of influencers, have them come to some of my places that I work with, and I asked them like, hey, can you come through? Like, well, most of the time I'm just asking like for a gifted collab, in exchange for, some content, whether it's a reel or it's a static post, or sometimes even some stories. But for the most part, it's usually a reel. That's usually the deal. Like, I'll give you a reel. I mean, I asked them to make a reel for the client, and in exchange, the client will give them like, they'll be able to get whatever they want from the menu, or they'll get like a pretty good amount of food or drinks or whatever the place is offering. And so that's basically like how I go about it. And then for the most part, most of the creators that I reach out to, they'll be down to do it, especially if they live close by. But there's some that they require payment, right? And so when it comes to the payment part, I really start to look at the profile a little bit more more intensely. I start to really analyze it, break it down, really look at it very carefully and see if this is a creator that deserves to be paid. Because, like I said, I don't believe that every creator should be paid. I believe only certain ones should be, and I'm looking through their profile to see if they are one of those. So there are certain things that I look for when, the creator wants to be paid. And first of all, I like to look at the aesthetic of the profile in of itself. Like, just by looking at the profile itself, just at first glance, does this look like a profile that looks nice? Does this look like a profile that looks premium? Is this a profile that just by one glance it looks like they deserve to be paid, or that or at least that every single business that they're going to, that every single business is paying them? Is this a profile that looks like that? Is it professional looking? Is it aesthetically pleasing to see to the eye in just one look? For the most part, that's usually where it ends, because I see like a lot of influencers, I see their page and it doesn't look good. It looks pretty bad. It looks like it's all over the place. Nothing is really like connecting. There isn't really like aesthetic or anything that makes it look appealing. So if it's already looking that way, that pretty much turns me off, and I don't really look into it as much anymore, unless of course their account is really huge and they have like a lot of followers. Like, we're talking like more than 100K. If they have like more than 100K and their profile is not looking all that great, it could be that they're still worth paying. It could just be that these people are getting paid more for their personality, and they're getting paid more because they're more like a celebrity now, or maybe because they've been around for quite a while. But they're getting paid because it has nothing to do with the style of content. It has nothing to do with the looks of the content. It has more to do with just because it's them, and because they have a brand, and so they themselves are the brand. So if they have that many followers, then sure, I'll look into it, and then that's what I'm gonna check. I'm gonna see if that's really what's going on. Are they really a celebrity? Are they really like somebody that, hey, like, it looks like people love them. It looks like it looks like they have like a fan base, like of people that will be down, to like, follow them and, look through all their stuff, whether it looks appealing or not, just because they appear in there, just because it's them creating the content, people are going to watch. So I need to confirm if that's the case, because if that's not the case, then that leads me to think that the big following that you have, you probably bought it from somewhere, or probably somebody gave you this page, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you have a lot of money. You're able to run a lot of ads and run a lot of traffic to the page that's gotten you a lot of followers. Maybe you had a one-hit wonder where like you had one, or maybe you had a few pieces of content that went really viral, right? But other than that, like all your other pieces of content are kind of just weak. And so that's where you got like all your followers from. Or maybe it was just one piece, or perhaps you've just been around for a very long time that, you've accumulated those followers over time. But who knows, like maybe you have followers from like 6-7 years ago and stuff. And like, who knows if they're still keeping up with you. Maybe those people don't even like look through because a lot of people don't look through their followers. They don't look through like their following list, like who they're actually following, and start to remove people from there. They just kind of follow and they just kind of forget about it. And the only reason they would go and unfollow is if they're going through their feed one day or something, and then they see something that's kind of weird and it's a little off, and like, what the hell is this? Like, and then you see like, hey, like, who is this person? You're like, and then that's when you check and you're like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna unfollow this person. I don't like the content that they're posting. But other than that, like, if it doesn't appear on your feed, or like they don't do something like to catch your attention and remind you that you're following them, then the follow is just gonna stay there and it's not gonna go anywhere until they proactively, maybe just for some reason they just look through their following list and they look through the following number and they're like, whoa, like this is a lot of followers, like maybe I should go in there and like start removing a few, or like maybe like they unfollow one person and they're like, hey, like maybe this is a good time, for me to, like they have like those cleansing moments where I used to do this before too. Like you have like their social media cleansing moment where you're like, okay, it's time for me to remove certain people that I follow, because they're toxic, or because, they're not good for my mental health, or like they're just not good for me to be watching anymore. So I'm going to go through my following list and I'm going to start removing people, I'm going to be looking through them, sort them out and be like, hey, you know what? I only want these kind of people in my life. And so you start to kind of do that, a lot of people do that in person as well, but you could do that in social media as well. And so you just kind of go through your following list. That happens once in a while, but it doesn't happen very often too. So like for the most part, if you're following someone, you're going to follow them, and sometimes they even disappear because like you don't engage with their content. So if you don't engage with the content, then possibly it's possible that they're just going to fade off from your feed, and you may still be following them, but you'll just never see their content because you didn't engage with it for quite a while, and then they just kind of disappear. Or you just engage with other accounts a lot more that, that one starts to kind of fade away if you don't engage with it, if you're not liking it pretty often. And so things like that happen. So yeah, so back to the whole charging thing though. So I verify that, and I'll consider paying if one, the content actually looks really good and it has a lot of high engagement. And second of all, if they have a brand like that, if it looks like they have a really strong fan base where like it doesn't matter what they post, but as long as like they're the ones posting it, they're gonna get a lot of views, they're gonna get a lot of engagement because they themselves are like they're the brand, they're the person, like they are, like the ones who bring the attention, so that's pretty cool. So that's how I would go about, paying someone, is if the content is actually good looking, it performs well, and it actually follows like the right criteria as far as like, does it convince the viewer at the end of the day to go and try that food? And are they really positioning whatever it is that they're marketing, whatever it is that they're showing, promoting on their videos? Are they positioning it in a way where it's making that product, whatever it is, it's making it look like really good, like it's the shit, like it's something that you need to go and try right now? Like, it needs to be good. The message needs to be good. The delivery, obviously, the way the video is put together, or even if it's photos, the photos need to be properly edited. They need to look good. They need to highlight a specific product, and the product needs to be looking real good and everything, and whatever. Like the caption needs to be great as well, especially if it's a photo and there's no actual like voiceover for the reel or anything. Then I look at the caption, like how good is the caption? Is the caption, doing the proper job of explaining what's in the photos, and is it really, at the end of the day, is it really, bringing me in and convincing me that perhaps I should go and try this food. So I look at all that stuff, and then from there I determine if this is a person that should be paid or not. And yeah, so there's some reasons where I feel like it's improper for you to charge, and then, like I said, I've had some of these influencers come up with respond to my messages when I ask them to collaborate. They tell me that they want to charge, and then they give me these explanations of like why they feel like they deserve to be charged. And the fact that your fellow foodie is charging is not an excuse for you to start charging. So I don't care like who you have as a friend, but if your friend is charging, your friend is a whole different profile. I don't know who that is, and like the thing right here is that the fact is that you're charging, is not your friend. So I'm not working with your friend, I'm working with you. So I need to know, like, if you're charging, and if you're charging, I need to know the value that you bring. I don't care what your friend brings, because your friend is not going to be the one working for us. It's going to be you. If we pay you, you're working with us. And so I want to know what you bring to the table. I want to know what your value is. And so I don't care if your friend is charging. I don't care if like all your friends are charging. That's not an excuse for you to just jump in and start saying like, hey, I want to charge $100 for a video. I want to charge 200. I want to charge 300. That person is charging 500. Like, why shouldn't I charge 500? Because you don't offer value that equates to $500. Possibly your friend does. And, if they do, then good for them. They deserve the $500. But if you don't bring value that corresponds to $500, and it doesn't make sense to pay you $500, then you will not be paid $500, and you don't deserve to be paid $500. And possibly only the restaurants that are unaware of this information are going to be the ones who will pay you $500. But I urge you, if you're a business owner watching this episode, please consider this. Always vet your influencers, especially if they're going to charge. Make sure that they are able to deliver the value that make sure they're able to deliver value. If they're going to be charging you, if you're going to be paying them, make sure that it makes sense, based on what they're going to be giving you, that based on what they're going to be giving you, that it's worth it for you to go and pay them what they're asking for. So to me, that's not an excuse. Don't use that as an excuse for them. Don't use that as an excuse for you to start charging. Second of all, it's the travel fee, right? I have to go all the way over there, so I have to charge you, right? I have to charge you because my travel fee, it cost me this much to go from here to there. Like, no, like, look, I don't care. I really don't. Like, as a business owner, you shouldn't care either. Like, sure, like, yes, like, I understand it's an expense, but, at the end of the day, I'm taking care of you with food. Like, if I'm a restaurant owner and you're telling me, like, hey, I need a travel fee because, I'm going to go from here to there, dude, like, I'm treating you with food. I'm taking care of you. Like, I'm going to be able to, like, you could bring a friend too, and I'll take care of the two of you too, like, don't you think that that's money right there too, that I'm giving you? It's not like, it's not like the food is for free. It's not like I'm like it's not like do you not think that that's an expense on my end? Like, as a business owner, like, don't you think that I'm spending money giving you some of the food that instead I could have sold to another customer? I could have sold that, like, whatever I give you, was like 3 burgers, 4 or 5 burgers, like 6 sizes of fries, and like 5 drinks and stuff. I could have sold that. I could have made myself like $200 like by selling all that. But no, instead I'm gonna give it to you. I'm giving you like $200 dollars worth of food here. So I'm giving you something. I'm taking care of you. I'm at least doing something for you when you come through. Second of all, I am giving you content, really, like, because content creators also need restaurants. Like, if there wasn't any restaurants, then like, what am I going to create content around? Like, there isn't any content to be made. So you as a content creator need to be appreciative that there's restaurants who are willing to even let you collaborate, because some of them, they don't need to. Like, they'll probably create their own content in house, and so they won't really need you to come through and create content. So you're gonna have to go around and start chasing restaurants and asking them to let you collaborate and stuff. And so, yeah, like, you have to be appreciative of that. And I feel like a lot of content creators kind of take it for granted. Like, hey, like, any restaurant's just going to let me collaborate. And that's not the case. Like, either, like, some will let you collaborate, and some of them, you just won't get the chance. Some of them, you will actually have to just pay for the food, pay for the thing, and still do the review, because at the end of the day, you want to expand, right? You don't just want to settle for the places that are gonna allow you to collaborate. Sometimes you will have to go out of your way and invest a little bit in yourself, invest a little bit in the content that you're about to make. So perhaps you're going to have to go and buy the food yourself. You're going to have to go and, pay the expense of going to the place, and even paying for the food too. I've done that myself. I've gone to places where, they're really far away. I have to Uber all the way over there, and the Uber is probably maybe like $50 to go and come back. So I've literally spent like $100 creating a piece of content that I wasn't even paid for, but I was able to create that content after all. And sometimes that piece of content comes out really good, and it does well, and then other people notice it, and then I'm able to get work from some other place. Or perhaps, I go and I create that content. That piece of content taught me something while I was over there, while I had that experience that I could bring with me, and I could use it, going down the line, as opposed to, like, if I never did that, then I would never really know, like, what it was like, to work with a place like that, right? And so this kind of fee, I feel like it's not also like it's relevant. Like, I could just get another influencer to come through who lives a lot closer, and I don't need to pay him no travel fee because they're local. And so even locals are even better to begin with. If you're grabbing somebody from, like, that's like really outside, chances are that the if you need to pay them a travel fee, then that means that whoever sees it from their little local area over there, that means they're gonna have a hard time coming to the place anyway. So chances are that you probably don't want to be grabbing customers from all the way over there if the travel expense is too much, where the creator, even the creator themselves, is going to have to charge you in order to go and create content. So you're probably better off just getting someone that's local, and even paying someone who's local, because you're able to get all the local people and possibly make them recurring customers because they're local. They're able to go to your spot every single day, especially if there's something that you sell that people can consume every single day. You're so much better off just getting somebody who's local, as opposed to grabbing someone who's miles and miles away, who may end up watching the video, may end up coming through and enjoying what you have, but will never come back again because it's just too far for them, and they don't want to make that whole trip all over again. And so yeah, so you can't charge us because your friends are charging. Don't be charging because you need to cover your travel fee. Another one I saw, unemployment. So, like, oh, like, I'm not working right now. Like, I have no work, so I'm only taking paid collabs because, like, I need to pay my bills and everything. So then, like, I need to, I could only do paid collaborations at the moment, if you could understand, right? Look, like, if you're unemployed, I know what that is. It's a tough thing. I understand, but at the same time, it does not justify you having to charge. It just doesn't. And I've been unemployed too. And in the beginning, I had no recurring income. I had nothing coming in, and I was still doing free collabs. I was doing so many free collaborations. I didn't expect a single dime from any of these places that I was working with. And yeah, I wasn't employed. I wasn't really making any money. Like, I was just going all in. I was expecting that hopefully, somebody would want to work with me, not from a collab, but just but from the social media management part, where they'll want to hire me and be like, hey, you know what? I like your content. I like what you did here. I want you to come more often. I want you to come these many times a month and create content for me and post it on my page and stuff like that. So that's what I was hoping for, and I was selling that kind of service, but I was never charging for the collaboration. I was never charging for a single video. Like, that to me was just like a little sample. Like, and I was very happy to give everybody a free sample of my work and be like, hey, like, look, this is what I offer. I offer social media management services, but perhaps you're not convinced. So let me go ahead and make you a piece of content. Let me go ahead and show you a little preview of what I could do for you. Let me show you how I can bring my skills and my creativity and blend it with your business and see how that mixture looks. And so that to me was the funnest thing ever, to be able to come in, shoot the restaurant, shoot whatever it is that they offered, and being able to put in my creativity and the way that I shot things and kind of mix that up and eventually produce a piece of content that obviously had my creativity in it, but it also had their product in it. And you have no idea the faces of so many owners that they had when they saw that piece of content. They were like, oh my goodness, like, I've never seen anybody, blend everything so well. That's one of my passions, to be able to do that, to be able to come in and be able to create content like that really connects the two of us, right? It creates like a little bond, I would say, like, that's like a little mini relationship, I would say, that happens at that moment where, there's that bond where, like, their product and everything connects with my creativity and my know-how, my skill set of creating content. So both come together and they create that piece of content where their product is shown in a very appetizing way. And so that's what I did. And so for you to say that, oh, like, I need to charge you because I'm unemployed, like, that's, you got to take responsibility for that. And if you're unemployed, that's on you. That's not really on the business. That's not the business's fault that you're unemployed. Look, if you are unemployed, you should be prioritizing going and go find a job. Go look for a job, a normal job. Sometimes, you got to go back to the bottom sometimes when you fall into these situations where you're unemployed. So go back to the bottom, get yourself a normal working job that pays the minimum per hour, and work your way up. And still do these collabs if that's something that you really like and you're passionate about creating content. Then continue doing it and let the regular job be the source of income. Don't be charging the restaurants and everything for and expect them to take care of you just because you're unemployed, because it's not their fault. And the business at the end of the day should be getting value from the content that you bring. Now, obviously, if you're unemployed but you're making some really badass fucking content and your content converts, obviously, that's a whole different story. Now you actually get to charge because, yes, you might be unemployed, but also, like, you bring value to the business because your content is badass and it performs and it converts at the end of the day, and you're able to bring value to the business as far as, like, engagement in their social media accounts, but also in sales. It could possibly convert a lot of the viewers that are watching the content into actual people who go and actually buy the food at the actual restaurant. So that's good. But at the end of the day, like, if you're unemployed, you're unemployed, and that shouldn't be something that you drop on the business themselves. Like, that's something you need to take care of yourself. So all of these things, and there's many more. I'm pretty sure I haven't heard them all, but these are reasons that you should. These aren't reasons that you should be charging. Like, if you have any of these, like, these are all like personal things. Like, your travel fee, that's on you. The unemployment part, that's on you. The whole, like, everybody else is charging, why not me? That's on you too. That's on you. Like, it's not about your friends. It's about you. Like, what do you bring to the table? Like, your friends, obviously your friends bring whatever they bring to the table, but you need to bring whatever you bring to the table. And so this is why, like I say, like, yeah, but let's see before we move on. I think I'm running out of time in here. Let me see. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Just making sure that nobody's gonna use this room because I'm probably gonna go overboard when it comes to the time, because I don't know why actually. I think that this episode has gone a little bit overboard here, but yeah, I went a little bit overboard with this topic. But yeah. So we have that. So we have that topic, and then so we have the topic there. So yeah, so we have the, so yeah, so as far as like you being an influencer and you charging, that those are my thoughts about that. Now, when it comes to social media managers, like, I work with a lot of social media managers, and the thing is that I personally like when, all right, so when it comes to social media managers, right? Some of the, I mean, most of the social media managers that I work with, they're also influencers. So they have their own page where they go and they do collabs and everything, and then they have their own like personal clients where they do social media management. That's pretty much what I do as well. And so the thing is that when I come across another social media manager, I find that to be very, very humbling. I mean, I'm very respectful of whoever that is, and the fact that they've embarked into a similar journey as me. That's really cool for me. Like I personally respect that, because I know that it's a lot of hustle, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of really a lot of it's very stressing during, and so like it's a lot that you have to go through when you're doing social media management. So the fact that they're able to go in here and successfully have gotten a few clients at least, that's something to be proud of, really, from the other person. So I always respect that when I meet another social media manager. And the thing is that when I meet another social media manager, I understand some of the struggles that you may go through as a social media manager, and one of those is obviously influencer marketing, because you gotta work with all these social media managers, and so you gotta work with all these social media managers, and and it's influencer marketing, because you got to work with all these influencers, and for the most part, a lot of them are, like I said, they're charging, and so you're like, oh my goodness, like how am I going to get influencers? Because now like every influencer wants to charge, and some of them don't deserve to be charged, some of them don't deserve to charge, so you're not going to pay them. So then that's already like a few influencers are going to be out the window. You're going to have to discard them because they're not good enough to be paid, so you can't have them. Sometimes the business themselves only has a certain budget to afford in order to have influencers come in. So if they just don't fit that budget, or maybe the budget has already been spent in another influencer, then you can't have that one come in. So then that's another influencer less. So like I understand that's one of the struggles that another social media manager might go through. So what I do is that I never put a fee on my end when it comes to being an influencer. So yes, I do charge. I charge. So sometimes I don't charge all the time, and not to all the places. I charge them depending on like what's going to be required from me, and if they want like something like really, really professional. If they're going to be picky, if they're going to be like very strict about it, very professional about it, then I will charge them, because they want to get very hands on. They want to get very personal with whatever the content is going to be. So then in that case, I will charge them, because we're going to establish that kind of communication. But in some cases, it's just very light. Maybe it's local, or maybe I'm gonna be in the area. I just want a place to like eat and have a good time. I don't really expect to be paid or anything. Like maybe I'm doing another paid work, and then I would just want to go there just to like try out the place because it looks cool, it looks fun, and whatever. And I want to support. So then I'll just do it for free, because like I said, I'm not out here trying to charge every single person. But when it comes to another social media manager, manager, I never charge. I will never ever charge them unless, of course, they tell me like, hey, like, look, man, the place has a budget and I want to pay you because I really like your work, and I wouldn't want to just get something for free from you, and they really insist that I should charge something because at the end of the day, the expense is not on them, but the expense is on the business itself, and they're going to be very happy with that. Then in that case, because some business owners do feel a little better if they pay, because they feel like the creator's going to put a lot more effort into it, as opposed to if they're just going to do it for free, then maybe they take a longer time and they're not going to put as much effort into it and stuff like that. I'm not one of those, by the way. Like, if paid or not paid, I'll always put in a lot of effort, because at the end of the day, I care about the content that goes out in my page, as opposed to some creators. Like, if it's paid, they'll put in a lot of work. If it's not paid, they'll just kind of slack off and just throw whatever out there, just as long as it's content, right? But yeah, so I never charge those social media managers. So I find it quite offensive. I find it quite, just. I just find it really just not right when another social media manager comes up to me and tells me like, I have to charge you this much, like, because I asked them, like, hey, can you do me a solid, can you come through and like do some of the clients that I do, like, can you come and do a collaboration with some of my clients, and they're like, oh, well, these are my fees, I need to charge you this much and this much and this much, and like, I'm like, yo, like, come on, man, like, we're in the same business here, like do me a solid, and then some of them will kind of give me a discount, and then some of them will just straight up like not give me a discount at all, and they'll just be like, hey, this is the price, take it or leave it. So obviously I'm gonna leave it, because like I don't feel like it's right, especially because like we're in the same business here, especially we're colleagues, like I feel like eventually down the line we could really help each other out, like a lot of things happen. And then like also like when it comes to like potential collaborations, maybe I want to collaborate with you at some point, maybe I want to, like you want to do a mutual like kind of deal here, like maybe you need help with some of your clients in creating content, maybe you're not able to go, maybe you need to go out somewhere, you need to go out for like you need to, you have an emergency or something, you need somebody to go and take care of your clients for the time being, I'm always there, I could do something like that, I could possibly jump in, but like, like I'm not going to offer myself to do that if, you're going to be charging me, to do certain things. Like, if that's the case, like, I'd rather not do anything unless, of course, like, even if, I see that you're up there, that you're worth it, that, you deserve to be paid at the end of the day, I would at least expect some sort of discount, or at least some sort of like, like possible exchange, like I've done exchanges with other places too, where it's like, hey, like with another social media manager, they'll be like, hey, you know what, you go to my place, I'll go to your place, and that really, I think that's really one of the best trades that you could ever do in this industry, especially between social media managers. Like, you could be like, hey, you know what, I'll go to your spot, you come to my spot, and then that way, we can both, create content for each other's clients. And I think that's fun, but, at the end of the day, not every social media manager thinks that way. I completely disagree that you should be charging your fellow social media managers. I feel like if you guys are in the same industry, you guys should help each other out. You never know, down the line you guys could possibly end up working together, partnering up and stuff like that. So like, yeah, but I feel like there's just so many places to make money that you shouldn't be exploiting every single stream that you could possibly have. Like there should be some instances where the relationship matters a lot more than just making a few more dollars. And so this is one of those cases where I feel like the relationships that I have with other social media managers is far more important than the money that I can make from them. So I would rather just have all these social media managers be on my side and be friendly with them and always be there for them if they ever need anything. Like, I'm always available, I'm always open to be able to help contribute, in whatever way possible to their business, to their agency if needed, and like, create like a nice healthy relationship with them. I can make money somewhere else. I can make money with other people, other clients, other businesses that that I don't know anything about. I could charge them, and so we're good. There's other places where you can make money. So like, I would really, pay attention to that and really like see like where, because relationships are also very valuable. it's not just about making money, but it's about, keeping a healthy relationship with the people in your circle, in the people that you work with, in your industry. Always have a great reputation. And so this is one of the ways to do that. So yeah, those are my thoughts as far as that goes. The second topic I wanted to talk about is how it's important to allow creativity to exist. So creativity should always be allowed to exist. And with that always comes mistakes, because sometimes you create things, sometimes you go a little bit overboard, sometimes you take something, maybe you take a little beer or something, you go or something like that, not to say I do any of those things. I don't do any of those things, but a lot of creators, they have their own methods, their own things that they consume and stuff in order to get into the creative zone. So the point is that a lot of times, you create things, and then sometimes the things that you create are not really the best. But sometimes you will create something that's really fire. However, you will never get to the fire stuff if you're not able to get through some of the mistakes, some of the things that are not so good or that are like way off, right? And so the thing is that every time you choose to work with other people, you decide to collaborate with other influencers, you decide to collaborate with a restaurant or something, or you're working with a client or something, you always want that established and let them know, like, hey, like, I want creativity to exist. I want me and I want you to both be, open to exploring all these ideas and being able to not judge the ideas as well, but also be very honest about them as well, like. So the thing is that not like for me, like, I always allow everybody to be creative. I tell them, like, hey, you know what? You're about to create a video like that. I've heard really crazy stories and like ideas about people wanting to create videos in a certain way or take photos in a certain way. And I'm like, yo, like, that's crazy. That's a little crazy. That's a little out there, but I always say, you know what? Go for it. I'll always encourage it, and the more crazy it is, the more I'm like, you know what? You should try it, I want to just see how it comes out. Now, a lot of people will be like, hey, you know what? That's crazy, bro. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, don't do that, like, that's weird, or like, that's crazy. Like, no, that'll never work, stuff like that. Like, I don't like that stuff. That whoever talks to me like that, like, I try to really stay away from them, because these people are the people that will block your creativity. These are the people that will stop you from creating things that, yes, they may be right, and it may suck, at the end of the day, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do them. That doesn't mean that you should be stopped from exploring, because every single time that you try something, every single time that you create, every single time that you put in effort into creating something, you will learn something. Even if it's a mistake, you'll learn why it was a mistake. You'll get that out of your system. You'll see, like, why didn't that work? Or why did it come out like that? Or why was it perceived that way? Or perhaps maybe it was a good idea. Maybe the execution was right. It was just in the wrong place in the wrong time. So perhaps if you timed it properly, or you showed this idea or this concept, you used it in a different scenario, perhaps it could work really well. But maybe in this scenario it doesn't work because of X, Y, and Z. And so now you understand this area better. Now you're like, okay, now I know that I cannot use X, Y, and Z because this is the way it will come out. This is the way it looks. It's not good. Or perhaps if I tweak it in a certain way, perhaps we can make it fit, but not like this. And so to me, creativity, it allows, for mistakes to happen. And if mistakes happen, well, then the mistakes will allow you to learn stuff. And if you're able to learn stuff, well, then you grow as you learn. And so that to me is really important. So always, whoever you collaborate with, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's another friend, whether it's, business owners, whether it's fellow foodies, other influencers, other social media managers, maybe business partners, whatever, always team up with people who allow that to happen, who allow creativity to happen, where, yes, like, I'm letting you be creative, you're letting me be creative, but at the end of the day, we're both being honest to see if it actually fits the concept or not. Because we want to create the best work and we want to bring the best out of each other. In order to do that, you need to allow both people to really, or everybody that's in the team, to really express themselves and bring out everything that they have in their mind, bring it out, bring it to the table, and then, like, being able to get all the ideas out of the system. That way, you can, it's not only an idea anymore, it's something that actually happened, and you can learn from it, and that will eventually lead to your best work at the end of the day. But you will never get to your best work if you're not, putting in the time, you're not trying, you're not testing things, you're not making mistakes along the way. So it's very important to have those kind of people, people that won't laugh at you, that won't stop you. But at the end of the day, when they see it, they'll be like, okay, you know what? That that's crazy. So it looks like the DJI Osmo hit the 1 hour mark, and it just overheated, so it just stopped recording. That was kind of crazy. I've never seen it do that. Maybe because it was connected to the charger. I don't know. I disconnected the charger, so it doesn't. It's not continuously charging. But I don't know. It's the first time that it overheats. But yeah, maybe we've gone a little long today. I was just pretty much concluding that second part where I was talking about, like, you gotta allow creativity to exist, and be with people who allow creativity to exist, and they allow you to really express yourself and bring your ideas to life, but also very honest about them and being like, hey, you know what, that idea, possibly not. This one's pretty good. Maybe if you adjust it here and here, it could probably work out better. I think you should keep on doing it, keep on trying, keep on doing this thing until it works out, and so on and so forth. It's very encouraging from everybody to just be like, hey, you know what, keep testing, keep doing things, whatever, So there's that, right? And then, let's go on to the third and last topic here that I want to talk about, which is disrespect. How to deal with disrespect. So you get disrespected by business owners. They talk bad about you, about your work, and they kind of diminish you. They tell you like, hey, like, nobody looks at your content, like, you have so little views, like, why are you charging, and like, why this, why that, like, why last time I had this other creator, and they went really good, they did really good, they did like this and that, and they do this, they talk, maybe you should talk too, maybe you should be more funny, maybe you should be this, maybe you should be that, right? And so you get a lot of disrespect. There's a lot of people that are like that, a lot of foodies who will tell you that kind of stuff. They'll be like, hey, my content is a lot better, it looks better, it performs better, or whatever. You get all this respect, right? And possibly even in the comments, from like people who aren't even in this industry. They're just viewers. They're just scrolling on social media, and then they just decide to leave a comment there, right? So there's a lot of people out there who behave this way. And the thing is that at the end of the day, there's going to be tons of disrespect. There's really no way to really stop it. There isn't like a thing that you can do and be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to put an end to the disrespect, and I'm going to, this is what you got to say. Every time somebody tries to disrespect you or disrespects you, or even before they disrespect you, this is how you can avoid it. There isn't really like a way to do that, to really avoid it beforehand, but there is a way to really respond to it once it does happen. So the thing is, first of all, you gotta understand that disrespect is gonna happen no matter what. Especially if you're starting to grow, you're starting to make things happen. Your content is starting to get out there. You're starting to get known. Disrespect is gonna come left and right from so many people, and so like, you need to really accept that. You need to accept that disrespect is going to come from left and right. But the thing is that the disrespect is just going to be there. It's one thing that comes with doing this kind of job, which is content creation and being creative, because you're putting yourself out there. You're creating new things. You're a content creator. It's not like you're like taking things that already exist, because you could easily just leave this industry and do something that's not creative and let other people do the creative stuff, and you just do the stuff that's already pretty much accepted by all the population. You could do things that are accepted by society already, and those are the things that probably people won't really judge and really, call you out for it. They won't really disrespect you for it because it's already been socially accepted. So there's a lot of things like that you could possibly do. But if you're going to be in the creative space, there's going to be a lot of disrespect, because there's a lot of things that you're doing for the first time. There's a lot of things that are not socially accepted yet. There's things that people are not really accustomed to. There's a lot of new things. And then when there's things like these, like, a lot of people really don't accept it at first. A lot of people like to repel things that are new, that's different, that requires change and stuff like that. And so when it comes to those kind of things, like, you need to know that there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of disrespect going on. And so you need to understand that it's just going to happen, and you're going to have to just deal with it. They'll hear like sirens outside. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I thought we were in Pasadena here. I'm not in my hometown. In downtown. In downtown, there's like, sirens all the time, 100% of the time, really. It's something you get accustomed to over there. But yeah. So going back to this, right? So yeah. So the disrespect. So yeah, it's gonna be all around you, and the thing is that you're just gonna accept it, be with it, and know that it's part of the game. And then second of all, yes, while disrespect does exist, and like it could be, it's gonna do two things. Like I said in the intro, right? It's gonna either impulsively, you're gonna want to respond, you're gonna want to attack back, and talk shit back to them. If they're disrespecting you, like, I'm not gonna let myself to get disrespected, and you're gonna talk back to them. Or second of all, you're gonna feel really hurt about it, and you're just gonna be like annoyed, and you're gonna feel stressed about it. You're gonna be like, oh, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, there's a lot of disrespect here. People look down on you, and they do this and they do that shit. They compare you to other creators and stuff, and they kind of diminish your shit. But a lot of people are not very honest about it too. There's disrespect that's very silent too. I think that's kind of one of the worst, really, disrespects that could ever happen. When it's silent, when it's just kind of like, people with their actions, they disrespect you, and it's like, ugh, it's disgusting. But it just happens. It happens a lot in this industry, and you just gotta accept that it happens, and not really let it affect you, because it has nothing to do with your work. It really doesn't. At the end of the day, like, a lot of people will disrespect and stuff, but it's really just them. Like, at the end of the day, people need to disrespect us. There's people that just need to disrespect other people just because they carry that hate inside. They carry that energy within them where they need to disrespect other people in order to feel better about themselves and feel better within themselves, because they're able to release that energy of disrespect out into the world. And because there's a chance that perhaps they try to do something similar. They try to be creative at some point, and then they got disrespected, and now because of that, they try to fit in with society and really disrespect other people now who try to break out of society and try to do things like their own way and try to live life under their own terms and be creative like you are as a creator. And so yeah, there's just people like that, and you can't really control those people. You can't change their minds. You can't change the way that they are. And so you're just going to have to continue working hard, continue working, focus on your work. Really, at the end of the day, focus on your work, focus on your creativity, focus on your collabs, focus on, whatever your goals are with this, whether you want to, like I said, you want to become a social media manager like me, or you want to, perhaps you want to become a really top-notch influencer. Focus on that. Focus on getting bigger collabs, or, you want to become a person that's you want to become an influencer in the industry, like somebody who people listen to and stuff, and like that, and then do your thing, network with as many people as you can and stuff like that. But whatever your goals are, focus on that. Focus on whether maybe you want to become a filmmaker like me or something. You want to create like really, really nice, appealing content that looks really nice, in cinematic, you could go for that route. Whatever your route is, you want to become the best reviewer that there is in LA or in OC or wherever you're watching this from. You want to become the best reviewer ever, then this is what you gotta do, right? Then focus on that. And the disrespect, just let it be. Just let it sit there. It's gonna happen. Fallouts are gonna happen. Whatever. You just keep moving on. Focus on your work, like I said, and you'll be just fine. All right, so that's it for me today. I don't want to extend this podcast too long. I already did, but I'm gonna cut it right now. You'll definitely see the smaller clips on my Instagram, tff.podcast, which you need to follow. That's where I post smaller clips to these podcasts in case you don't have the time or you just don't have the attention span to watch through the whole thing. You guys can go ahead and go to the Instagram, tff.podcast, where I post short clips of every single episode. I take basically the best clips that I can from each episode and post them there. So you guys can still kind of have some takeaways from the episode. Obviously, the biggest takeaway is going to be when you watch the entire thing. But, who knows? Maybe you watch a little clip over there and you get enticed to go and watch the full thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Go follow the Instagram, tff.podcast. You can follow my food page as well at the Foodie Filmmaker. And then you can follow and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel at the Foodie Filmmaker. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for keeping up with me here as far as like how long this went. And I hope to see you in the next episode. Make sure, remember, if you want to be a guest here, you can always let me know. You can DM me at the Foodie Filmmaker. You can DM at the tff.podcast on Instagram as well. Or you can just fill out the form below this video somewhere down there. You can fill it out. And then, I'll get back to you. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.